guys, it is Dr. Elisa Song. So excited to be here with you. I have three really important special guests who are going to join me on our live right now. We are here to talk about how can we reduce the risk of baby eczema, baby food allergies, baby asthma, all of allergic conditions in our babies that are clearly on the rise right now. So let me see if I can get Dr. Ruchi Gupta, Dr. Peter Leo. Hey, Peter, how are you? Good to see you.
Good, good, good
This
to see you too.
worked. And then I'm going to see if Ruchi and also Michael can join us. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for them, what I'd like to do is to introduce Dr. Peter Leo, who I have not met in person, but I cannot wait to because I feel like we will be, uh, what is it? Two sides, opposite sides of the same coin. So, Dr. Peter Leo is a clinical assistant professor of dermatology and pediatrics at Northwestern University. He is the go-to integrative dermatologist for I would say for kids and for adults, and it's just so phenomenal to first of all have a dermatologist who really looks at the skin through a more integrative lens, and then also looks at also works at an academic center to bring this knowledge out in the conventional world. So can you tell us, how did you get interested in integrative medicine and integrative dermatology?
I've always been interested in sort of the fringe and the edge of science. That's been something since I was a little kid. I was the kid reading about the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and UFOs. Like, I love all that stuff. And when I got to medical school, I realized that there was this whole set of things that nobody was really talking about in the mainstream. Like, it wasn't in the textbooks, it wasn't part of the regular curriculum, but it would come up. Patients would ask about it. I would want to know about it. My mom would say, "Hey, what did you learn about energy medicine? What did you learn about acupuncture? Did they
Mm.
talk about it?" And it was like, not really. So I kind of started taking it upon myself to learn a little bit more. And I found that there were some like-minded researchers in the community even when I was a student. So I had some really cool mentors and was able to just keep building that and learning. And when I finished my residency, I spent a full year studying acupuncture. So I spent time with Kiko Matsumoto and David Euler and learned from them, and spent another year sort of trying to become somewhat more of an apprentice and refine those skills. And then it's just been this steady learning curve. I feel like not a year goes by that I don't substantially change my practice, my thinking about health and disease, and my knowledge. So it's been amazing.
That is fascinating. I love it. So was your mother already um, I don't know, interested in integrative medicine? Was she already living that kind of a lifestyle?
Yes, I would say my mom of our family is the one who kind of is always interested in some of the fringier ideas. She's probably the inspiration for a lot of that. She would ask the questions, what do you think of this? Why didn't we talk about this? And I think there's this natural inclination just to sort of dismiss it, like, oh, no, come on, it's nothing. If it were something, it would be in the textbook. But it turns out we know that's not the truth. The truth is the textbooks keep getting updated, and there's a lot to learn. And in fact, some of the coolest, most futuristic things I've come across, they started in ancient traditions. They started with sort of the obvious thing that people had
Yeah.
been doing. And it was like, oh, this actually really is interesting. It doesn't mean everything is great. It doesn't mean that every product that's natural is safe or effective. We know that's not true either, of course. So, you can't be too extreme, but there is this incredible midpoint where you're like, you know what? This is important. This has merit. This makes sense. We can use this. And I think really good clinicians, to some degree, do this naturally. You don't have to call yourself integrative to be a clinician who connects with their patient, who is trying to meet their needs, who is interested in learning about other ideas to help them. Because at the end of the day, I always say my ego is much smaller than my ability to get somebody better. If I'm wrong, if I don't know, I would much rather find out and be right and help them rather than sit on my high horse and say, well, this is not what academics tells us. It's like, what's the point of that, right? We're trying to get people better. Hey,
Um,
everybody, we got the gang.
Hey, so we were just talking about what it means to be integrative, and I love this because really and truly, what you're describing, Peter, is no matter what. what form of medicine you practice. It's having this open mind and this, this knowledge that we know so little in the grand scheme of things, right? And that there are so many ways and paths to healing, and we need to remain open to them, even if we don't necessarily practice them ourselves. But I absolutely love that. And thank you to your mother for raising you to be so open minded with that, right? And we're joined with Dr. Ruchi Gupta and Michael Yang, and we're just going around really kind of sharing right now how, from a conventional background, medical background, we kind of veered into a more integrative route. And so, Michael, I would love to hear from you as a medical student. This is where we have to start, right? This is like how fantastic, to have a medical student really interested in nutrition and interested in more a more holistic way of looking at medicine. So, how did you get interested in nutrition, and how did you kind of, get to know Dr. Gupta and fall into this?
Absolutely. I think it's really been, I think my whole life I've just been in the kitchen with my grandparents, seeing them cook. My parents at work, being almost raised by my grandparents. And with my brother also when watching Food Network. For my college application essay, I talked about cooking and how I really enjoyed cooking and how that ties into like my aspirations in life and wanting to prevent diseases. Um, and then I got to college, and that's where I really began to explore the field, not really having taken a nutrition course before, but doing a public health minor, taking classes like Introduction to Nutrition and then Nutrition and Chronic Disease, and then really just falling in love with the preventative aspect of medicine and like seeing how we can prevent diseases before they occur. Because I think in medicine, in the past, a lot of it has been just treatments, right? And then you guys are the experts at this, but I think as we move forward, there's a bigger focus too on nutrition and the preventative aspects, and even with food allergies. Like now, we can prevent food allergies with the foods we take, and like taking this prophylactic approach to how we approach preventing diseases, limiting the burden on not only oneself but ultimately one's community. So with all of that, took my nutrition classes, took my pre med classes, as you guys knew, and then yeah, just really found the connection between health, exercise, nutrition, and medicine, and I pursued this as much as I could and started a kids cooking and STEM education program in New Orleans. So we teach kids how to cook and about the intersection of, again, food and medicine. So we have slides about like digestive anatomy and like exercise physiology, but we talk about how calcium is important for bone growth and like muscles need protein for our digestive anatomy slides. But even for like our brain foods presentation, we talk about like the importance of omega-3 fatty acids, which I really didn't learn about when I was in school until I got to college, really. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lack of emphasis on that in education today. I've been really
I would
fortunate.
say most college students probably still don't know, right? And many medical students are not fully aware of the impact of, we speak about, food as medicine, but that is really not ingrained and taught to a deep extent in medical school or residency. And to understand that power, even before you start to really practice, you're going to bring so much to your patients because that is the foundation, right? We cannot grow healthy young bodies without the right ingredients, right?
True. Yes.
Absolutely.
And Ruchi, I'd love to hear more about because we are here today, right? Celebrating baby skin
Yeah.
health, right?
Yes.
So this is brand new book, came out last month, right? A Parent's Guide to Smart Skincare and Allergy Prevention. And, Dr. Gupta is kind of the spearhead of this project, really getting this information out because, as Michael said, we have the tools and the knowledge to help reduce this burden of food allergy and eczema on infants, on families, because it's the whole family that's affected. And as you said, Michael, the community, because this is, with EpiPen shortages and the works. I mean, it's not just something to take one family at a time. We need to think more broadly. How are we going to reduce the burden globally of this rise in eczema, asthma, food allergies? And I mean, Peter and Ruchi, I mean, you probably remember back in residency, right? I mean, this was a couple of decades ago. I don't remember writing a prescription for EpiPens.
Oh no.
right? I mean,
Yes.
it was
Yes.
so rare. And now one
Yeah.
in 13 kids with anaphylactic food allergies. So can you share your journey of how from, a conventional pediatrician, you really got into this world of advocacy, educating around food allergies, really being such an amazing spokesperson for it. And now really kind of diving also into more integrative approach.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Alyssa. So what a journey, right? How life takes you places. It's fascinating. So started out studying asthma, and as people on the call may know, may not know, it's something we call the atopic march. So it starts with eczema, then allergies, food, environmental, and then it moves on to asthma. And everyone does not have to have all of it, but
Hmm.
they are related, and you have a higher chance of having all of them. So that whole concept was really interesting to me. And then as I started in asthma, I met some patients with food allergy, and I got very intrigued by food allergy and how little we knew about food allergy. And so jumped into food allergy. But for the viewers, I want to give you practical things because what we know today, we did not know. We actually
Hmm.
knew the opposite, or we thought the opposite. We got really scared seeing that rise in food allergy, and we didn't know why. And so we started recommending not to introduce foods early until data started coming out showing, oh, wait, maybe that's not the right way to go. And so now that's all reversed. So, one thing, medicine, it's so variable because we keep waiting for better research and better data to make changes. So now what we know is a couple really key things. So when I started this journey, I was studying food allergies and eczema, and then my daughter was born with severe eczema and fatal cap. And then all of a sudden, as a pediatrician and researcher, like, oh my goodness, like what kind of chemicals, like back to integrative and how important it is, what kind of chemicals, what kind of things are we putting on our skin, on our body, and in our gut, right? And how does that influence our health? And I think this whole concept that you lead so well is so powerful. So my piece of it is that eczema piece, and now we have a saying: it's through the skin, allergies begin. Through the diet, they stay quiet. And for all the viewers, what that means is that the skin is really critical. And Peter can tell you way more in detail and depth, but that skin barrier is needed to protect you from that whole allergic march. And so, very, very important to protect that skin barrier as much as you can. So, keep it intact. And Peter knows my story. Rhea had terrible eczema. He helped me create Yobi back then for her, which worked so well. And then we wanted to share it with the world. But then what we kept learning was this whole early introduction piece. So introducing foods to your babies early is really important, but not just introducing, but keeping it in their diet on
Hmm.
a regular basis. And I think all of us are on a mission to demedicalize all this early feeding stuff. Feed your baby, regularly, and introduce those allergens, and don't be scared of them. I think those are some really key messages. And so we wrote it all in this book. So Alyssa, Peter, Michael, and I got together to put this together. So it has skin, it has gut from Alyssa, it has early introduction from me. It's like a comprehensive guide, and you can download it for free today. So please do.
Yes.
I
So
just
it's
wanted to
it's
chime in. I'm at this big allergy meeting, one of the big allergy meetings here in Orlando, and I actually showed that image, the through the skin, allergies begin, through the diet, they stay quiet, showed it to the audience. It was so great, all these pretty academic allergists, and there was this great murmuring and nodding. I was like, cool, this is catching on even in the academic community.
Yeah.
well, and it's so important because um, when the research comes out, we know that the research can take, what is the saying, 17 years to translate into clinical practice. And we hope it's not that long, right? But even, I mean, I was texting Ruchi, was it last night, Ruchi?
Yeah.
When I was saying, oh my gosh, we need to really help not just parents understand that there's a new way of thinking about food allergies, but also practitioners, right? Who there, you sort of I don't want to say you get stuck in the old way of doing things, but it is hard to shift something that's been so entrenched in you. And I remember in training, we had a list of the top 12 allergens you do not introduce until at least 1 year of age, right? No peanuts, no shellfish, no, all of that, right? Now it's completely turned upside down. And we still have practitioners, pediatric practitioners in the community, really, I would say, through no fault of their own, I mean, with the best intentions, but giving guidance that is not following the latest research. So we need to shout this. This is not just integrative. We just need to shout this out because this is so important. And I'd love for me, it's all about the gut microbiome, but, with the rise in allergies and atopy and, knowing that infants are missing a very important, beneficial bacteria called bifidobacteria that helps to train the immune system, build tolerance to certain allergens, including food allergies. But Peter, can you talk about the skin? Because a lot of people don't recognize that the skin has its own microbiome. And I'm also so curious, Chinese medicine has so much to say about, our different organ systems. And, even from a Chinese medicine standpoint, how do you kind of tie that perspective in with the skin and what's going on with this huge rise in allergies and eczema?
It's so exciting. I mean, I totally agree with you. The gut is critical and central to so many things, but a lot of times people will forget about the skin. And if we think about it, if you're touching your skin, gut, you switch over as soon as you cross your lips. Now you're talking about your gut epithelium, right? So these are all epithelial surfaces that interface against the outside world. The other big one is, of course, respiratory. If you pick your nose, I won't do that here on camera, but if you pick your nose, you're touching your respiratory epithelia. Now, there is a colleague, someone who I really admire. His name is Dr. Ian Miles. He's at the National Institutes for Health. And he talks about this idea. He said, if you live near a lake and one day you go out there and there's a bunch of dead fish, you'd be like, oh, what happened to these poor fish? But if
Mm-hmm.
one day you went out there and most of the fish were in trouble, you'd say, what's wrong with this lake? And that, I think, speaks to a little bit about what's happening with the allergies that we're seeing, this huge uptick. As we both, as we all agree, we didn't used to see this many. So there's something more. It's not a genetic problem. There's something about the modern world. And I think it's something that is affecting our skin, our gut, and our respiratory epithelia. So part of it, I think, is that the environment has become honestly more hostile to us. We have detergents in our clothing that can activate and damage our microbiome on our skin. It damages the skin barrier. We eat detergents. When you eat an emulsifier, right? Processed foods have
Yep.
emulsifiers so that they stay nice and mixed. That's a detergent that damages our gut. It hurts the microbiome there too. We breathe in all sorts of chemicals too, things that are released by car exhaust, like even forest fires. It turns out that wildfire smoke contains a chemical called isocyanates, which damages our skin microbiome. It damages our respiratory microbiome. It's really tough. So all these things are happening and they're connected, but they're also different. So bifidobacteria are really important in our gut. There's a different set of bacteria on our skin, and it turns out each individual is kind of unique. You can almost do like a fingerprint of your
Mm-hmm.
microbiome. So that's why I'm often a little bit nervous when people say, "Oh, I got a quick fix." You just take this one particular thing and it's going to rebalance everything. It's like, I don't know. It might not be that easy because we're all kind of different. So it might take understanding a little bit about the environment, both skin and gut, and figuring out what's missing, and then also all these healthy lifestyle pieces. Because right, this concept of the crop and the soil, right? So if the good bacteria are the crop, that's what we want to grow. You need good soil too. So you could put a probiotic or a healthy bacteria in a place, but if the environment's not good, it won't thrive. And that's where, again, healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, using gentle products, eating well, all these pieces come together. And I think that for me was the real impetus of the book, because I feel bad if I tell a patient some stuff, and maybe a lot of times they are medicines and things too, and they might come back and say, but you never spent time on the basics. Here's a way we can get a whole book's worth of important basics that I think are widely applicable to really improve health. And some of it's common sense, but some of it's not so common.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's, I will say, and I'm sure we all note this, and Michael, you will see this too. Sometimes it is the simplest solutions that have the most profound effects. And yet changing diet, changing lifestyle, simple solutions, but sometimes the most challenging, right? But when we get the science behind it and we get the education and awareness and empower parents to know this really is the right thing, it's the best thing, it makes it easier. And Michael, I love the work you're doing with kids, because once kids understand, connect the dots between what they're eating and how they're living and how they feel inside and what their skin looks like and how their brain feels, it's so powerful. So So I'm wondering from you, Michael, what are um, um, some of the ways that you found are most successful in getting kids on board with healthy eating, right? Because that is one of the challenges as a parent.
Mm.
Absolutely. I think the first thing and the main thing is to try to communicate is that healthy food can be delicious and it doesn't have to taste bad, or if it's healthy, it doesn't mean it has to taste bad. So, and also, we don't just want to teach the kids about the vitamins, but we really want to make that connection between the food and health. So, instead of just telling a kid to eat a broccoli, like we're telling our kids it has fiber, which helps with digestion, and that is important to keep you full. And also, like vitamin C, and how it acts as an antioxidant. Like, there's an actual mechanism behind the food and how it acts on your body. And we almost call it like superpowers to our kids. So we say like, what if you could like improve your eyesight? Well, vitamin A can do that with carrots and beta carotene and like all these other nutrients. It's like superpowering your body. And when we introduce that first through our classes like presentation, we lay the groundwork, tell them about the nutrients, also tell them about food allergies too, and like what an allergy is. And then I think for us, it's really just being able to put together a class where we can not only teach, make that connection, but also bring them into the kitchen too. And they can actively, cut the food, put together a meal. And then when they try the food, they're like, oh man, this is actually really good. And just being able to have that hands-on engagement, I think is really important. And being able to see that, again, healthy food doesn't have to be not tasty. You can make super tasty food that's also super good for you too.
Yeah, I love it. It is teaching about kids from a young age all the way through high school, college years. They do It does get in there, guys, right? I mean, parents listening, it gets in there. There's going to be a time where you're like, oh my gosh, they didn't learn a single thing that I've been trying to teach. But it comes back. And I see so many kids now, having been started my practice over 20 years ago, I have several kids who are, college students and even beyond. And, having them come back and say, show me pictures of the balanced food that they've made or like the fermented sauerkraut that they're eating with their food. I mean, it is the best feeling in the world. And these are even kids who in high school were the ones who really were not making the choices that as practitioners we will want or as parents. So I love empowering kids and families, right?
Those recipes, which a lot of people don't know what that means, as Michael said, right? Like, what is healthy food and what does it taste like? I mean, I use the recipes from your book still, Alyssa. Like,
Well,
real life. You,
I'll show you,
yeah,
guys, one of the favorite recipes. I'll find it, and you guys can go if anyone listening. I have a post on this in my Instagram account, but I have a fermented blackberry lemonade recipe, right? That's in the book here, and which I think is like if you, as a parent, you start with the skin food introduction, but we have to start getting in these creatively fermented foods, which is one of the things that are kind of lowest on the plane for most families. And thinking beyond sauerkraut, right? Thinking of, fermenting, you can ferment anything. So if you ferment blackberries and then you muddle it, add some lemon, you could throw in a probiotic capsule, and there you go. It's an easy fermented lemonade that you can make to popsicles, you can make into a puree and put onto pancakes or waffles. So food truly is that information for your body to know how to heal. And your skin needs food too, right? I mean, well, first I want to say, Peter, I mean, thank you for saying that your skin microbiome, everyone's is so unique, right? Just like your fingerprint. I mean, the same thing with your gut microbiome. It is not as simple as a one size fits all, everyone take the same probiotic. It doesn't work that way because we will find eventually what is the right microbiome for everyone, what is the right diet for each unique individual based on our own cultural and ethnic backgrounds, our own unique history. It's a fascinating time to be in. And I hope, Michael, by the time you're in practice, we get some of that precision medicine really in place. But, Ruchi, I would love for you to share Yobi, right? Because you held up Yobi, really, the skincare really quickly, but that is an important part of preventing and reducing the risks of food allergies, is really protecting that skin barrier. So what does that mean? Because I think that is a really novel concept for a lot of parents, thinking about like protecting the skin so that that your phrase, through the skin allergies begin.
yeah,
Unpack that for us.
yeah, absolutely. And exactly what you said, where you have to put good nutrients into your gut. People get it. People get okay, I need a good microbiome in my gut. The skin, as Peter said, is an extension. It's all got that, trillions of bacteria all over our skin too, and you got to keep your skin healthy, that microbiome healthy. And so I often call Yobi, it's feeding your scalp and your skin, right? That's what you're doing. So it has, and Peter helped me put all these ingredients in here, but honey, like in the scalp mask. I mean, do we ever think about our scalps? We put so many chemicals. We're stripping our scalp every day with so many chemicals, and we're putting, hairsprays and gels and all these things that clog those follicles and aren't letting your microbiome healthy. So, um, the first thing we created together was the scalp mask, and it is it's feeding your scalp. It's 50% honey. It has turmeric. It has B12. It's got such great nutrition and probiotics, right? So you're putting all this back to make those follicles, those sweet little follicles on your scalp that are trying to produce healthy hair, healthier and giving them the nutrients they need. And that will keep not only your scalp healthy for babies with cradle cap, but even out, like anyone who wants a healthy scalp. Feed your scalp. I think this is so important. And then the same thing for the skin. Feed your skin and not use those like, sulfates and parabens and things that strip and remove. And I think that's where we've come. It's this cleansers and antibacterials. But antibacterials don't just work on bad bacteria, they work on good bacteria. So if you're going to use those, which we have to a lot of times in the hospital, like there's no choice, but then you have to go back and replenish. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that
Yeah.
was our goal. Started with my daughter, but now it's amazing to expand into works for adults. And I wanted to mention that for adults, we keep thinking of food allergies in this atopic march as a child thing.
Mm.
But one of our studies, we found that half of adults with food allergies said they developed one as an adult. And
Yeah.
you know that anyone, all the intolerances and sensitivities that are coming up in adult populations. So this is not, this is a lifelong practice of eating
Absolutely.
your microbiome.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even well, I was just going to say, it's not just, it's like these anaphylactic food allergies I'm seeing in my parents. All of a sudden,
Yeah,
they can't eat shellfish or they develop allergic eosinophilic esophagitis. And that is, did I ever hear about that diagnosis when I was a resident, right? And now EOE, I'm hearing ads for it on the radio driving in, right? And so, this idea of how do we reduce, um, to the extent possible, our toxic inflammatory burden that living just by simply living in this modern world, and then protect our skin and our gut, from that integrative standpoint, so that we are as resilient as possible against whatever we face. Right? It's not about hiding from all of these things. We want to reduce our burden, but let's face it. Even if we're living really clean and green, we are still going to be exposed to microplastics. We are still going to be exposed to forever chemicals. I would love to talk about the honey in there, right? Because I know, like for my kids with eczema, if they're super infected, we know Manuka honey can have some anti-staph properties. But I've had this question before from parents because we tell them don't eat honey before a year of age, right? And yet we have this honey and this topical product, which is beautiful and completely safe to use topically, right? So I would love maybe Peter for you to talk about from a dermatology standpoint all of the amazing benefits of honey topically, and also just let's all give a verbal reassurance that yes, this is Yobi is perfectly fine and safe to use topically on baby skin.
Oh, yeah, it's a great point. I mean, right, for kids under one, we don't really want them eating the honey because of the potential for toxin, right? So botulinum toxin can be present in there, and that can cause trouble for the babies that can't break it down properly. This is a little bit different here. This is prepared in a way that's safe, and we're not ingesting it. It's going to go onto the skin, so it's quite safe here. Honey is amazing. It is antimicrobial, so it does fight some of the bad bacteria, but in a way that's really sustainable and gentle to the whole overall microbiome. It's not an antibiotic, which can often wipe out whole things, or an antiseptic, which again damages the microbiome and it has to try to recover. It's a little bit gentler, but it also also has a whole bunch of really good properties for the skin barrier as well. It's a natural humectant. It pulls water and holds water there. It's very, very soothing as well. So I love when honey is part of it. In fact, there's a whole extensive literature about honey for wounds. So people that
Hmm.
have a sort of sore or wound that won't heal, honey can really help. The problem is that if you just get raw honey, it can be a little bit tricky to use. It's sticky. It can get
Yeah.
bugs. You can have all these things. So what's so nice is when it's formulated as part of a final product, it really makes it accessible to people, and we kind of can vouch for the quality of the ingredients in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a prescription medical grade honey used for burns, right? So we know this. And Ruchi, I would love for you to share. I remember having this conversation with you at the A4M Pediatrics conference, which next year I hope you all three will be there. I will tell you the dates. It's September 17th to 19th. Bookmark it. But you were noting how in India, where eczema and asthma is, at very high levels, food allergy is not. And one of the practices for infants, in the Ayurvedic tradition is to give infant massage every day with oils,
Yeah,
right? So, this is something that historically in other cultures is a part of our daily practice. So, how should we incorporate yobi into our daily routines as parents of new babies, newborns, and young children, infants?
absolutely. So, the biggest issue that happens in the US, the minute that baby's born, we clean them, right? We take off that protective vernix and remove it, and now their skin is exposed to the world, and we don't let it naturally. I think people are starting to let it naturally, flake off more and more, but that has been a practice for a long time, and then that skin exposed. So applying Yobi on the skin as early as possible on a regular basis to just keep that protection is really important. But we are coming out, like, stay tuned in the next couple weeks. We're going to have a baby massage or adult massage, just a
I love it.
oil, a body oil available, which also includes, and Peter was also a part of this, picking out the amazing different properties of oils there, like coconut and argan and uh, gosh, sunflower. And there's properties of many of these oils that are so nutritious. Again, feeding
Yeah.
skin. So I do think that massage or keeping that skin protected, like right from the start, is just so important. It's something we've kind of let go of. And then as we talked about, the environment is so full of pollutants and indoor and outdoor. So how protected in that early life, because, and Peter can probably explain it better, but right below the skin layers there's our immune cells, and we talk a lot in the book even about the body, if it goes through that skin, those immune cells attack like it's an invader coming in the back door of a concert or something, and all the alarms go off, and your immune system gets skewed to the allergic route instead of the non-allergic route. So anything, Peter, to add to that?
100% agreed. Right on.
So
So I'll ask both of you from a dermatology standpoint, from an allergy standpoint. Another common question from parents is, well, how often should I bathe my baby?
yeah, that's a really good question. So, and Peter, do you want to go? You go for that.
Yeah, it's one of those questions you'll hear a lot of different opinions and often very passionate opinions on. And I think that we understand that it depends a little bit on some of the specifics. I think if the baby doesn't have sensitive skin, doesn't have eczema, you probably have quite a long leash. You could sort of do what you like. And we were saying in the beginning of life, it might be good not to wash the baby right away. Let the natural vernix sort of settle in and let the skin kind of rest. But after that point, I honestly think that many people can get away with just a few baths per week. That is probably fine. But if you do have eczema, it turns out there's a little bit of evidence. And again, we have to take it carefully because it's in a study setup. But they did this thing where they compared the wet method, having patients with eczema bathe twice a day, so two baths a day, versus the dry method where they just bathed twice a week. And it turned out that the wet method was superior. Now, the trick here is that it does also depend on a couple of other things, I think. When we bathe, we're using a gentle cleanser. We're moisturizing right after. See, that's going to help. If you didn't have access to a gentle cleanser, if you were using a soap, like an old fashioned soap that's really alkaline, then it makes sense to say, you know what, don't bathe, because even plain water strips our natural oils. And if you put soap in there, wow, it really can damage the skin. So in that case, it made sense to say, you know what, space it out. But if we're using a gentle cleanser, ideally a cleanser that even helps support the skin moisturizing barrier, then that can be a positive thing. It washes off irritants, allergens, bacteria, and then it allows us on that damp skin, which is now very, very amenable to moisturization, to put our good moisturizer on. It absorbs beautifully. Water is a penetrant. It helps it get in there. Well, then I think the net effect is positive. So if all those statements are true, then I think more frequent bathing can be great, but your individual situation may vary. And you should always trust your own skin. I have families who say, you know, doc, we tried it and we just didn't do as well. We prefer to do it every other day. In which case I'll say, you know what, trust the skin, because as we have alluded to, precision or personalized medicine, that's the key. Every person's a
Mhm.
little bit different. So sometimes something that works for most people might not work for you.
And you can also, if your baby loves the bath and the routine and it's just part of your nighttime, you can also bathe without a cleanser, right? Just if they want the warmth, and then you just that, and then afterwards you can do the baby massage. So there's that too, right? I have a question for Michael. As you think about your path forward in medicine, right? Um, I'm curious what you, first of all, what you see among your current classmates. Do you feel like, and I mean, fingers crossed, but do you feel like this way of thinking about food and diet and lifestyle and, really embodying that kind of a more holistic minded approach to medicine, do you feel like that's kind of taking hold at the medical student level? And then, what path do you see forward for yourself?
Absolutely. I definitely think there's an increase in nutrition education as opposed to even 10 or 20 years ago. I'm really grateful to attend Tulane University School of Medicine, and Tulane was actually the first medical school to incorporate a teaching kitchen as part of their medical school curriculum. And now that's expanded to like George Washington University School of Medicine and almost a half dozen or even a dozen medical schools now where they have like an actual teaching kitchen. And also Stanford has one where they teach their kids, where they teach their medical students and bring them into the kitchen on the importance of nutrition so they can better counsel their future patients too. Because there's a quote at Goldring where you can say, like, you can give a patient a bell pepper, but if they don't know how to cook the bell pepper, they're not going to eat the bell pepper. So we really want to have a future where, as a doctor, you're not just telling a patient to eat a certain food, but hopefully, be able to guide and provide information because you yourself have gone through that path and being in the kitchen and going through the education in order to help provide tangible, clear steps that patients can actually use to incorporate proper nutrition in their daily lives. And for the future, I really want to continue working at the intersection of food and medicine. That's where my passion lies. I'm really grateful to have met Dr. Gupta, who's the greatest mentor in the world. Yeah, I mean, I think I've just been really grateful because throughout my entire college and medical school path, I've pursued this passion of nutrition, started in the kids cooking program, but also receiving a scholarship to go to England to get my master's in nutrition and food science. And then it just so happened that during that summer, when I was still working on my dissertation, I had time to do an internship, and then I applied to the CFAR Scholars Program, which is now accepting applications. But it just so happened to work out that I was accepted to that program, flew back to the U.S. for 7 weeks to join Dr. Gupta's internship, and then I flew right back to England like literally the next day. I flew back after the internship ended. I flew back to England 2 days later because I had to wrap up my dissertation in September. Um, but I think Dr. Gupta saw my passion for nutrition and pursuing this path, and I see her passion obviously in like carrying out not only the advocacy of food allergies and the prevention of food allergies, but also everything with food allergy. It's not just research, but converting research into advocacy and a public view that the patient can actually see. So research is not just locked up, in a paper, but it's what we're communicating to the greater public. And I think that's what this book really does a great job too of, it's like synthesizing all of the information that you experts have had for the past, honestly, even really recently, because the USDA dietary guidelines didn't include allergy introduction until 2020 to 2025. So it's only been like 6 years since the public has really been encouraged by the government to include allergies. But being able to translate what we have the greatest evidence on for moisturization and also early introduction and feeding and also early allergen introduction into information that people can have that's accessible to ultimately cultivate healthier communities and healthier people.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to make sure everyone knows because
Uh,
baby skin health, right? The book today on Amazon, right?
mhm.
You can get it. What is the Kindle ebook price today?
Zero, free. Uh,
Zero,
yeah,
zero, guys.
we just to benefit from it. And I think that's the whole reason we wrote this. It is all proceeds, if you do buy the actual book, is going to go right back to the community. So the goal of this from all four of us, and Michael, I can't say enough. Like if you're a young person out there, go do what Michael does because he is a rock star and he's persistent and he finds the right people he wants to work with and he makes it happen. And if it wasn't for Michael, this book wouldn't happen because the three, the
Oh,
three
that for sure is true, Michael. I mean, you are amazing.
and he, you learn so much from all of these. But yes, you are a very special student who is going to exceed all of us and do amazing things in the world. But yes, please get the book because all of the stuff we're talking about, all of Peter's soak and seal, the importance of bathing and then moisturizing and locking it in, all of Alyssa's beautiful gut microbiome and how to keep it healthy, and all of the early introduction stuff is all in here. So, definitely download it, utilize it. You can listen to us, but we know that you only remember like two or three things.
Well, and guys, this is a book that we want in the hands of not just parents but also practitioners, because
Yes.
again, the guy. I mean, there is a lot of, I would say, there's just misunderstandings of how to introduce the guidelines, and also, um, I mean, practitioners have fear too around. You have this baby in front of you, and you don't want to increase the risk of allergies because you're seeing your patients with more allergies. So how do you really know? And do you trust that this is really the best thing to do? So I mean, this is written by, I mean, the experts in food allergy and in dermatology. So I would say, please, please, please get your hands on this book as a parent. Give it to all new parents that you know. It's free. The ebook version is free today on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com and look up a baby's skin health book, and it'll pull right up there. So. I want to leave with just one last, if we could just go around and share one thing that you would love to leave, parents listening or even practitioners listening today with. And Peter, can you also please share about your love of pizza? Because I was thrilled to know that you have a pizza book that also everyone should get their hands on.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I think the biggest thing I would want to leave patients and families with is just that there are so many things that are different, that it continues to change and with new ideas and new understanding. And we're really trying to bring that to everybody in a really understandable.
Oops, we just
Peter, I'm
lost
sorry.
your. Oh, there we go.
Am I back? Okay.
You're
Um,
back. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So that we want to bring that to them in a comprehensive and yet understandable way. So I think that's what the book really sets out to do, and I think we've achieved it. I think it's really nice with all of our input together in there. And then about pizza, I love pizza. It's my other passion, and I put together a book. This book, by the way, the proceeds from Baby Skin Health all goes to a good cause. It's a charitable cause. The other book that I wrote is called The Pizza Prescription, and also that 100% of proceeds go to the National Eczema Association. My main focus in my career has been atopic dermatitis or eczema. I'm a board member for the National Eczema Association. I'm really interested in supporting them because they're also looking for other ways to solve this and looking for cures and solutions and ideas. And I just really love that they're open minded and open to this. So that book is all about pizza and my love of pizza and how pizza can be healthy. It's often maligned as a bad thing, but we really can make it pretty good, at least in moderation.
Yes, my son was very happy to read your book. So, Ruchi, would you like to share your parting words of wisdom?
Oh my goodness. I agree with everything that's been said, but I would say that parents, a lot of times I think we medicalize and practitioners, we medicalize baby care. And babies are really resilient and they're pretty tough. If we think about how feeding is done around the world, it's usually whatever you're eating at home and you feed it to your baby, smush it up, and feed it to your baby. So feel comfortable introducing foods and protecting that skin and doing all the natural practices that you may have done or your families may have done. And don't be scared of it. And if you need support, come to us. We're all here for you. And I think that's what all of us on this call, our aim is to support you. So we all have Insta, we all have but really use us. I mean, I think all our goals in life is to educate and help
Mhm.
support families to the best of our ability and keep bringing you new information and data. So I'm just tremendously grateful and wish all of you just the healthiest, of experiences through life.
Yes. Michael, would you like to share any last words?
Definitely. It's been said already, but obviously this book was written by you guys, the experts. It's the leaders in pediatrics, allergy, dermatology, and what we're trying to communicate here is synthesize information that is really evidence based. And so I can't, give my expert opinion, but I'll just share on the advocacy side. But over 30 million Americans are affected by food allergies. And going back to my work with the kids cooking programs, we have our pre and post surveys, and we've seen so far through our work that kids can name our middle school kids in New Orleans know about what can name about 1.5 of the top 9 allergens, and there's really limited data. I mean, on so much of food allergy, not only the mechanism but also the knowledge, in the public, even though it affects 10% of American adults. But yeah, just using my time here just to share that food allergy is really prevalent. It's can affect, on average, 3 kids in a classroom of 30. So if we can increase transparency and knowledge and awareness about the top 9 allergens, how all top 9 allergens are even on all food labels in the US, or really want to just promote a healthier, safer society for everyone living with food allergies.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to make sure that we all know and understand as parents and as practitioners, um, I mean, my passion is starting upstream as much as possible, and that's really what this book helps to do, is to really understand how do we prevent some of these concerns from happening in the first place. If we can really optimize the gut microbiome, I mean, many of you know I'm chief medical officer for Tiny Health, which is a microbiome testing company. I mean, if we can start with the gut microbiome, protect and optimize the skin microbiome, I truly believe that we would have a trajectory of so much more vitality and health in our children and our teenagers and our adults. So it starts with the microbiomes, right? Multiple microbiomes, and then also for those listening, if your kids already are suffering from severe eczema or already have food allergies, there are so many ways still that we can support your children to really thrive in their bodies and their skin. And so, maybe that's book two, but there's so much that we can do from this integrative standpoint. And by integrative, it means not throwing out medications if they're needed, but really pulling in this whole body, whole mind approach. And so I love that everyone here on our panel is really looking at the whole child, the whole family, when thinking about how to heal from the inside out. So I'm just so blessed to, have you guys in my lives. And I don't even remember, Ruchi, how we met, but it's like this, this ripple effect of, I mean, all things good. And I'm so grateful to meet you, Peter, and meet you, Michael. And I'm really looking forward to amazing things to come. So please, guys, free ebook today on Amazon, Baby Skin Health. Get your copy. Tell your friends, tell your practitioners you know to get their copy today too, please.
Yay. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Oh, you're welcome. All
Thank
right,
you.
guys, have an awesome rest of the day. We're at whatever time it is for you, wherever you guys are, and we'll see everyone next time. All right,
Sounds great.
bye.
Bye.